Hello YouTube, back once again, and sorry if I'm kind of tired for this review. It's about like 1 in the morning because I just got back from seeing the new horror movie It Follows. Ooh, and anyway, let's talk about this movie. This film it stars Micah Monroe or Micah Monroe, one of those two, as a character named Jay, and I'll tell you the premise now. All I can say is please stay with me when I explain this one to you. What the film's about? It's about this character Jay, who's like a 20-something-year-old, and she kind of wants to sleep with her boyfriend. Stay with me here, and then one night like in like the first few minutes, she does end up sleeping with him, but it turns out this guy has the single-handed worst STD of all time. Stay with me here, and what it is he passed a curse onto her. On what it is now a shape-shifting demon that only people who carry the curse can see. Will now stalk her and eventually try to kill her, and that's the premise of this movie. Yeah, and the thing is though, she can get rid of the demon, but if she sleeps with someone else. But the thing with the demon is, it's not like when you get rid of, like, you sleep with someone else, it's you got rid of it, you're done with it. No, it will then, if it ever kills the person it's stalking, it will then move up the line of succession for like who passed it on to who until they eventually would get back to the first person. And that's the premise of this movie. Let's talk about this. Before I want to get into this movie, I want to get into something. I want to talk about the difference between something that's plagued a lot of horror movies as of late, and that's the difference between, there's a difference between, and not just movies themselves, the audience who watch it. There's a very strong difference between what's scary and what's startling with horror movies, because, like, for example, like last year there was like the wonderful horror movie The Babadook, which I thought was unbelievably scary, such a like uncomfortable horror movie. And I had friends said, "Oh, I wasn't scared at all by that. I thought it said." I was like, "Well, what do you mean it wasn't scary? I mean, that was like a really like creepy movie." Like, yeah, but like it never made me jump once. Like it never made me go, "Oh," just like. And you know why? You know why it was? Because there was no goddamn jump scares in The Babadook. It was clever and made atmosphere, and that led to terror. The thing with people now, like if I grabbed your ear right now and shouted into it, you would jump in horror. You would jump. You would be like, "Oh my god," but you wouldn't be scared. You would be startled. You would find that startling, not scary. And that's the thing with horror movies. People, you're not, with movies that just rely on jump scares, you're not afraid of the next scare. You're afraid of the loud, obnoxious orchestra sting going off that will just make you jump because it's just a sudden loud noise going off on your ear. That is not scary, it is startling. So let me say this right now, if you're the type of person who has given up on horror movies and just said, "That's all I want from a horror movie," you will not like this horror movie. But let me say this right now, for people who like actual like atmosphere and a chill and like a scary premise with some really great atmosphere, this is a great horror movie, and let's talk about it. Okay, so let's talk about the good. One, I gotta say, I was surprised. The performances in this movie are actually pretty good, especially from the lead. She is really likable. You really can like these, and not just her, the rest of the characters too. You really like them. You're not actively rooting them for them to die. And considering the fact that they're all college kids in this movie, that is one hell of an accomplishment. Having a bunch of, because usually when it's a bunch of college kids in a horror movie, you are just counting down the minutes until they die, just begging for it. No. All the characters, you don't want to see any of them die throughout this movie, so especially the lead. She is incredibly good, and that's a really good. That's a great thing about this movie. Another thing that was really good about this movie is the demon itself. The thing about the demon is a shape-shifting demon, and the thing about it is it's always going after you. Like, basically they say, like, it only walks and will just keep walking towards you. Like, no matter how far away it is, it just knows where you are and will just keep walking towards there. And because of that, it is very scary. It's very scary, kind of like a classic slasher film kind of way, just like kind of like an unstoppable demon kind of thing, just like there's no slowing it down. It will just keep moving, keep going. It will never stop moving. It's very creepy in that way. The demon was very effective, and another good thing about it is there's also the whole thing, like I said, that the demon itself, it can only be seen by those who carry the curse, which does actually lead to a lot of great ambiguous scenes, like when like just we were wondering, like when like someone's walking towards like the main character, you're just wondering, wait, is that the demon, or is that just a person, like just a random person who's just walking down that way? And so yeah, that made it definitely gave the whole film a great feeling of creepiness and paranoia throughout. So that's another great thing. Another thing that was actually really good is about the characters themselves, though, was they were also very intelligent characters. They were very intelligent, like they thought through. They thought that like they have like a plan near the end on how to fight the demon. I thought that was a really clever, well thought out plan, and I really liked it. No, they were very smart. Like even like in the beginning when they don't really believe that there's a shape shifting demon after her, because why would they? They're still like, okay, my friend's clearly upset now. She's clearly like she's like crying, like she's crying and she's screaming. She's just completely horrified. I don't believe her, but I'll just try to comfort her. So they just go along with her, and because of that, so like they do come off very human that way. They're not just like, oh no, you're just crazy. Just calm down. Just shut up. You're just being annoying. Like you're just acting out. No, they can really tell that there's something like deeply upsetting her, which. So that's also good, and like it's never like when something like clearly supernatural happens, they're like, oh no, that's just something, that's just one of those weird things. Like there's like a scene in the beginning, like a window breaks, and like they just like when the friend just says, oh well, the clearly the person must have run away, and you can believe that. Like if you saw like one just like broke, like, and then you ran into the room where it's broken and sun, you would just assume, yeah, the person just ran away. But then like there's this scene like when like the girl, like the main character's hair gets lit by an invisible object, then like a friend like grabs a chair, like swings it, like it breaks in midair against the demon, and then he gets like hit by the demon. He's like thrown across the room, like he just got hit by a Hadouken, and he's like bleeding on the floor. It's like okay. Clearly a supernatural demon's going on. There's no denying it. Shit's going down. I'm on board now. So, like I said, I'm always loving horror movies nowadays when the characters are not just actively trying their hardest to believe nothing supernatural's going on. So, that's also another great thing. I will also say this movie can be very darkly funny also, just with this whole premise that you can never tell if like someone walking towards you, like sometimes it's obvious if it's the demon considering some of the forms it takes, but other times that like there's like a really funny scene just with one of the characters that just like, oh my god, they're explaining something to them, and then they just like see like someone, and they're just someone walking towards them during the entire scene. They're just like, oh my god, do you see them? And then like they just turn around and like, yeah, I see them. He's like, oh, okay then. And so it does have some fun with its concept of like it can be anything, and I also say this, the music's really good. It has a really great classic kind of like 60s horror, like 80s horror kind of techno feel to it. The cinematography is also really good. I really love some of the shots in this movie. Definitely gave like a very kind of otherworldly feel. That, and I also love the fact that like some of the shots, like it cuts between perspectives. Like you'll see like how like the people, like how her friends who don't have the curse on them like see like and see nothing, and then like you'll see it through her perspective. You'll see like she'll be seeing the demon there. Like that was all clever. Like it was also very clever how there was scenes like when like they couldn't see the demon, and like you couldn't see the demon, and all you had was the main character like just pointing to it. Like that was all well done. So that was great, and I'll also say this: I really like the ending to this movie. Because it has a very nice ambiguous ending, which I always like for a horror movie. It's not like just a giant jump scare at the end when like you think's over, it's like bah, and then it ends. Like no. There's a definitely ambiguity to the end of this movie that like even it can be read in one of two ways. Like you can kind of like decide for yourself if this movie has a happy ending or not, and. So yeah, and the only bad I can really say about this movie is the characters were likable. Like I liked all these characters. They weren't great. They weren't like greatly written characters though. They're like just pretty average, just likable people. You were just like, okay, you're likable. I get behind you, but that's kind of it. You're just never like, oh my god, these are such deep, complex characters. You're like, nah, they're just kind of like average, likable kind of people. And quickly for some side notes, there's this whole interesting thing about this movie. You can clearly tell this director loved like old 60s horror movie because like all the televisions in this movie like are from like the 60s and not just that though, yeah. So the TVs are from the '60s, and like they're all watching like all these like old black and white horror films are always in the background while in the movie. So definitely can tell this was made by someone who loved the craft. And I will say this, even though I thought this movie was very good, I would not say it was as good as last year's The Babadook. I do think that is the best horror movie at the moment of the past decade. And I will say it mainly comes down to the fact that with The Babadook, the characters were much more deep and much more interesting. And I always say that the interesting thing about The Babadook was it kind of felt like this was a dark drama while there was just an effective, like, supernatural element thrown on it. This is a very kind of straight-up horror movie, but it's an incredibly well-done straight-up horror movie, which is always accomplished nowadays when it's always about just the goddamn jump scares nowadays. But, so yeah, all I can say is this is a very good movie, and I will give it a solid 3.5 out of 5. I really like this movie. I wouldn't say I loved it though. I really liked it though. And I would definitely say if you want a good horror movie, go watch this. It's definitely worth a watch. It definitely will give you an uneasy feeling if you're walking by yourself alone at night afterwards. But anyway, YouTube, please subscribe and I will see you next time.